Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're trying something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing my first list video. Halloween's right around the corner, so I figured I would talk about my 10 favorite horror movies that are in my collection. Now, just to clarify, these are movies that I own on physical media, something like a DVD or a Blu-ray. So stuff that I've only seen in streaming or in theaters aren't going to be on this list. And I also do have a few blind spots in my viewing history, so those aren't going to be on the list. And these are my 10 favorites. They're not the 10 best I've seen or the most well-made. They're just my 10 favorites that I enjoy coming back to. So the first honorable mention I have here is the first two Blade movies. Now, these movies definitely got the superhero trend sort of kicked off. I believe that this first one came out even before the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man did. So definitely got that going. But you have vampires, you have Wesley Snipes swinging around a sword and just being super cool the whole movie. So if you enjoy superhero movies or you enjoy vampires, definitely give this one a watch. Now the next honorable mention is going to be The Conjuring. I am not a huge fan of haunted house, paranormal movies. It's not that I dislike them. I just like the creature feature, slasher kind of movies a lot more. But of the ones that I have, this one is definitely one of my favorites. Well-paced, pretty scary, pretty spooky. So if I was going to pick one of them off of my shelf to watch consistently, it would be this one. Now, the next honorable mention I have here is The Collector. Now, this is a film that I actually found out about through watching Cody Leach's channel. And think about it like Saw in reverse, where the person traps you in your own house and sets all the traps and basically says, hey, if you get out of your own house, you can survive. And so it's definitely a crazy concept, some crazy traps, some crazy gore effects. Definitely a crazy time. If you don't like the Saw movies, you're not really going to like this one. But if you do, it's definitely something to put on your radar and go out and watch. Now, this next one is here just purely because the holidays are right around the corner, and a lot of people, including my girlfriend, want to ramp up for Christmas a little bit early. And so whenever I want to find a movie that's sort of in that happy medium and I don't want to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, I watch Krampus. Now, Krampus is a very, very good Christmas horror movie. It's PG-13, so it's not going to be super, super insane, but it opens up like it's one of those sort of Christmas comedies where the family's at each other's throats and, oh, how are we going to get through the holidays with everyone being still, friendly with each other? And then Krampus shows up and shows them that things could be a whole lot worse than awkward interactions with family. So definitely one, if you're in the sort of festive mood, go out and watch this one. Now, this next one is honestly only here because I watched it recently and not a lot of people have seen it, and I kind of want to get the word out on it that it's a fun little movie, and that is The Final Girls. Now, it's not a smart movie. It's not even a particularly super, super well-made movie, but what it does have is a really, really fun concept. And what that concept is if you took a slasher movie and then dropped modern day kids who know all of these slasher tropes and put them into the movie. And so they're basically bending the tropes and using the tropes against the villain of the movie. And it's honestly great. I really recommend, if you're looking for something new, something a little different, watch this one. So the last honorable mention is going to be Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, I know that this movie isn't everybody's cup of tea, and there are some people out there who are going to prefer Nosferatu that came out last year in 2024, which I also own and I think is very good. There is just something about the way that Francis Ford Coppola put this one together, where it's just this romantic epic, and it goes all out with the sets, the costumes, everything. And it's one of those where weaknesses in the movie are made up with vibes. And I can't recommend this movie enough. I think it looks beautiful. I think it is a great watch. Definitely go out and see this one if you haven't already. Alright, so now that we're kicking off the list in earnest, this one might catch me a little bit of flack because I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and I know that there are movies that are going to be left off that people are going to be upset that this one passed them up. And that is going to be Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak. Now, I kind of feel like I'm on an island with this one, at least with all my friends and family that I've talked about that have seen this movie. They thought it was slow or boring or it was just weird. And while I do think it is a little bit slow at points, I think that the atmosphere that Guillermo del Toro and all the actors put together on this one kind of trumps all that. I was engrossed with everything that was happening on the screen for the whole time, and I think there's just something about Guillermo del Toro's style that just really tickles my brain in the right way, because I really enjoyed this. It's really, really tense. It's not going to be one of those like stereotypical slashers or something like that where you're running away screaming. It is a very, very slow burn where things are kind of revealed slowly and you're trying to figure out the mystery of this brother and sister and this estate. And overall, I think it is a very good watch. If you want something, again, like I said about the Final Girls, that's just a little bit different, check this out. Okay, so now we're starting to get into some of the classics. At number 9, I have the movie I just reviewed, Fright Night. Go watch my review if you want more specifics on this movie. But overall, it is a very, very fun 80s vampire movie. It has all the sort of vampire tropes that you're going to want while also dropping it into that suburban atmosphere. I think that this is a great movie to watch if you want something that's spooky, not super, super scary, that you're just going to be having fun with. And you've got a great Chris Sarandon performance in here that is chef's kiss, one of the better vampire performances I've seen in a film. So definitely, if you haven't seen this one, it is a classic, but go watch it. And next up, speaking of Chris Sarandon, we have Child's Play. Now, I don't need to tell you who Chucky is. Chucky's an icon. He's who Megan and, to a lesser extent, Annabelle have copied the homework off of. This is the original killer doll. This is the best killer doll. I'm not going to hear anything otherwise. Chucky is an absolute menace. He is one of the horror villains where you think you'd be able to survive him, but he's just such a nuisance in the best way. And he is probably the best trash-talking horror icon as well. Michael, Jason aren't really going to mouth off to you. Freddy will, but I think Chucky's got him beat there. I think that the franchise as a whole is pretty solid, but nothing really beats this first one. And, you know, the dynamic of mom just not believing that the doll is alive and this doll just causing absolute problems for Andy and everybody else around him. And it plays on that fear of things going on in your life, and when you tell people about it, they just don't believe you, while also being a super fun little slasher. So most of you have probably already seen this one already, but if you haven't, check out Chucky. And to continue this roll of classics that we're on right now, our next film up is Evil Dead 2. Now, I think that out of the whole Evil Dead franchise, Evil Dead 2 does the best job of balancing the scares with the sort of dark, sardonic humor that this franchise is famous for. You get tons of great quotables from Bruce Campbell's Ash. The Deadites are simultaneously terrifying, but also funny in some of the ways they just go to torment Ash. Like, they go from being the most terrifying things out there to being D1 instigators, and it's fantastic. I think that Sam Raimi's sort of kooky camera work, the swooping through the trees and all that kind of stuff, very ahead of its time. I think it's fantastic. If it wasn't for the Spider-Man movies, this would probably be my favorite Sam Raimi movie. I think that these are somehow underseen by my generation. The people that are older than me, they all know Evil Dead. They've all watched all these classic ones, where I feel like a lot of people my age haven't really watched these. So definitely, if you want a horror movie that's going to simultaneously make you uncomfortable and make you laugh, watch these Evil Dead movies, particularly the second one. All right, now coming in at number 6, we have Jordan Peele's debut film, Get Out. And I hadn't watched Get Out until earlier this year. I know it's sacrilege, and I know that everybody was on this bandwagon far before I was. And I know some people might even be saying that I have this too low. And it may just be due to I have a more of an emotional connection with those other films. And the more I watch this one, it may climb. But I think it is one of the best movies at sort of unfurling a mystery and just creating tension and misdirecting you and just doing a good job at simultaneously confusing the audience while also leading them by the hand where it is going. And once you watch it a second time where you know everything is, it is one of the most wild, messed up things that has been put to film without being like this crazy gore fest. I think that Jordan Peele did a fantastic job on this. I really, really enjoyed it. I am definitely hunting for that 4K to get the better quality version of this, because I absolutely adored this movie. If you're one of the 3 people that haven't seen it, go check it out. But it's coming in at number 6 today. Well, coming in at number 5, I have the original Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie, in my opinion, of the classic horror slashers in like the 70s, 80s, early 90s, I think this one by far has the best concept, having a killer who attacks you in your dreams, and if you die in your dream, you die in real life. And I think that it is one of the most creative concepts that also plays on the fact that you can't avoid going to sleep. You can fight it for as long as you want, but eventually you're going to have to go to sleep and you're going to have to deal with him. You can't just hide somewhere. And I think that's part of what makes Freddy so scary, especially in this first one. Later in the series, they take him in a kind of goofy direction that I'm not super in love with once you get past like the 4th film. But I think early on, Freddy is one of the scariest concepts that have been put in a horror film. I even went as Freddy when I was like 11 or 12 for Halloween, and my mom did this whole like prosthetic makeup deal. It was sick. I think that was probably my best Halloween costume I've ever done. But definitely, out of the original, like the big 3, this is the scariest. But not my favorite. And we'll get to that later. Coming in at number 4, we have the newest entry on our list, Sinners. Now, I know it just came out this year, and I know there may be some recency bias. I've already seen it 3 times. I think that this movie is absolutely outstanding. I went to go see it with my parents and my siblings. And my parents had seen it the day before. They had already watched it, and it's a 3-hour movie. It's not a small commitment to sit down for that long and watch a movie. And my parents were down to go see it literally the day after they saw it for the first time. It was that good. The characters are great. The action's great. It's gruesome. It's uncomfortable. It is everything I kind of want a modern horror movie to be. It just does such a good job of telling this big story while also incorporating these classic elements of horror. And it's just a perfect marriage of so many things I love about film. It rolls in music super well. It's one of those where if you wrote down everything on paper that this wanted to include and touch on, you would think there was no way that you could make it work. And it absolutely makes it work. If for whatever reason you're one of the 5 people that didn't see this movie this year, go out and see it, because I think this is probably my horror movie of the decade as of right now. Coming in at number 3, I've got Wes Craven's classic, Scream. Now, this franchise as a whole is probably up there as my favorite horror franchise, just because Unlike Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, there's no misses in this franchise. There's like one or two that aren't the strongest, but they're all at least good. And I think for a slasher franchise that has 6 films now, that is a huge accomplishment. But I particularly want to talk about this first one. It plays on horror tropes so well while also telling its own great whodunit story. I think Ghostface is one of the most iconic horror characters without being a set character, even though I will say the 2 originals are the best, especially, I mean, Matthew Lillard can do no wrong, so I love seeing him in this. Double feature with this and Scooby-Doo Crow's Crazy, if you know, you know. Now, I definitely think as far as the whodunit slasher thrillers, Scream stands at the top of the mountain alone, and everybody else is just trying to get some of the shine that this movie created. Now, coming in at number 2, I've got the John Carpenter classic. I watch it every Halloween, and that is Halloween. I know this set looks terrible. The reason I still have this, it is a DVD and a Blu-ray case. This is the DVD that started my film collection. I somehow could not find Halloween on a streaming service on Halloween it was during COVID or right before COVID. So at that time, I could not find this on a streaming service, and I had only seen it once, and I wanted to rewatch it for Halloween, and it was nowhere to be found. So I go to my local video store, which we still have one of those, thank God, and I picked this up. And when I was sort of taking all my DVDs out of their cases and putting them in a big book and going mostly to Blu-ray, I put this in its own case because I wanted it to be on the shelf. Probably going to upgrade this soon, but that's beside the point. This is the slasher that, while it didn't start it all, it certainly kicked off the big boom. It borrows a lot from Psycho and from Black Christmas, but the creation of, I would say, our first big horror icon in Michael Myers cannot be understated. He is, especially in this movie, he's just evil. It was before they felt the need to explain why every killer does what they does and give them some big backstory. Michael is just evil. He is the embodiment of, we don't know why people do bad things, they just do. And that's what makes him scary. And I think the way that John Carpenter shoots this and slowly builds up the tension through the movie by just kind of showing Michael in the background in areas and just showing him kind of stalking is great. He doesn't really even on-screen kill anybody for quite a while into this movie, and it doesn't bother me because it's building up the tension in this threat that is this figure of Michael Myers, and there's nothing you can really do to stop him. He is the boogeyman, and I think some of the later films kind of got away from this, or in the case of Halloween Kills, took it way too far and made him invincible for some reason. He's not invincible, but he is very durable. Now, if for whatever reason you haven't watched this absolute classic, go out and watch it. Now, if you know me, you know that for the longest time I said that this was my favorite horror movie, and for the longest time it was, but something has dethroned it. Now, that movie in question is my number 1, The Lost Boys. I don't know if you picked out, I kind of have a thing for vampire movies. Not Twilight vampires, don't be weird, you sickos, but I do have a thing for vampire movies. I think taking, these creatures and putting them in these everyday areas just does it for me. And The Lost Boys does that. It takes place in Santa Cruz. So it takes place at the beach with this coven of vampires that these kids who have just moved to the area kind of stumble into. And my dad explained it really well when he was trying to convince me to watch it a few years ago. He described it as Goonies with vampires. And while they don't have like that treasure hunting aspect to it, the vibes, just the way it's shot, definitely gives off that Goonies sort of feel of like, these are kids that are kind of coming into their own, becoming adults, but they're also dealing with vampires. You get a very cool Kiefer Sutherland performance in here. The vibes of being at the boardwalk while also having to deal with the supernatural, which I know Us did years and years and years later. This did it first, and I think that this is one of the quintessential vampire movies. I think it is one of the best summer horror movies of all time. If you need a horror movie to watch during the summer, this is your guy. And overall, I think if you haven't gone and seen this movie, either rented it, bought a Blu-ray or DVD, streamed it, anything, if you have the time to set aside to watch this, definitely do it. I know for anyone that's older watching this video, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, duh, Lost Boys is fantastic. A lot of people that are my age just have passed over a lot of these horror classics, and I am not one of those people. There are a lot of them I've missed, but whenever I see one that has stood the test of time, I always want to make sure I get the word out on these, because I want to share these movies that I love with everybody else. So, coming in at number 1, it's going to be The Lost Boys. Well, that about wraps up the video for today. Let me know if there's anything you think I missed or need to check out, or even give me your list in the comment section below. I would love to look at those and have a conversation with you guys about horror movies. It's one of my favorite things to do. So thank you guys for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.